we've got Brendan here, the boiler doctor, and the reason we're running this little stream of videos is there is a massive amount of difficulty in buying boilers. A boiler can be anything from something very small to something huge. It's not something you buy every day. It's not like buying a car. And people have a massive amount of issues around it. So we're going to speak to the boiler doctor, and we're going to get some insights on stuff that people need to know before they actually go to market and start even thinking about what they need. So firstly, Brendan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got to become the boiler doctor, and how'd you get this passion for boilers?
Yeah, I guess it started early. I left school and basically started working for a leading manufacturer in New Zealand, and started on the tools, fitter welder by trade. So worked my way up through the ranks into design and drafting, and then sort of progressed from there into doing installations and commissioning work and turnkey projects, some fairly challenging projects throughout the country, and then progressed from there into developing a service company for that particular manufacturer. Specialised service company with a number of offices throughout New Zealand, providing specialised service for the boiler industry. So I mean, all told, been in the industry for around 21 years.
So what are some of the things that can go wrong?
Yeah, look, I guess some underestimate the importance of having a reliable steam supply. And in many cases, people will go out, they'll look to expand their business, their steam requirements increase. Yeah. Straight away, they'll go looking for a second-hand boiler that may be 30, even 40 years old. That'll do the job, we'll throw that in. Right. When in reality, it's at the wrong end of its life. Right. Typically, boiler plant, you're looking at average lifespan in New Zealand of 30 years. Yeah. And to consider a boiler that's at, it's in its twilight years is not a very sensible approach.
Right, but is that done quite a lot?
Definitely in New Zealand, it's certainly it's one of the big blunders that companies will make.
So it's the same with anything, I suppose. There's the weighing off the upfront costs against the ongoing costs, and you see a lot of people going for the cheaper upfront costs, but having the bigger ongoing costs, and ultimately that ends up hurting them in the pocket.
Oh, I mean, for sure. Even on a relatively small plant, you could be talking over the course of 30 years $1 million saving by spending another $20,000 to $30,000 upfront.
Right.
And that's a relatively small plant. So, I mean, as the plants get bigger, the cost savings run from tens into hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in savings.
So a diagnosis on upfront costs compared to ongoing costs sounds like it's pretty essential to rescue yourself from making that mistake. You do need to have all the total cost thing mapped out.
It's an important decision, and it's totally underestimated. All boiler plant aren't. They are not equal. There's certainly a lot of potential to get it wrong.
Some of the other biggest mistakes that people make when purchasing a boiler plant?
Obviously, if they look to purchase a second-hand boiler plant, well, a boiler, for instance, when it's designed, it'll be modelled. It'll handle so many thermal cycles throughout its life. So the steel will expand and contract so many times, and then after that, its actual ability, its integrity, can no longer be quantified as in how long is it going to last, or how long's a piece of string. So I mean, if you consider buying a plant that's 30 years old, you're really up against it. I mean, you could be looking at a failure at any time, and generally you'll get small cracks opening up in tube plates and tubes and high stress areas, and then they will tend to escalate from there to the point where your boiler plant will let you down, cost you downtime, or ultimately, a third-party inspection body may refuse to grant an operating certificate. And I mean, that is real serious stuff. I mean, if you cannot produce your product because your boiler's not capable of running safely, it really leaves you exposed. Another thing is boiler plant, there could be issues with the way it has been run throughout its life, water treatment, scaling. As the scale builds up, the boiler's ability to transfer heat is reduced from the fuel through the steel to the water to create the steam or hot water. So forms an insulation. So if you've got a badly scaled boiler, or even 1 or 2 millimetres, it can make a huge difference to the operating costs of that boiler plant. And also, as the scale builds up, it tends to overheat the material, and potentially long term it'll lead to failure.